I welcome you all to this week's Sunday Supplement. It's great to have you all here with us at 10:30 this Sunday. Can I also just extend a special warm welcome to a good number of new people that are joining us week by week. This Sunday, we're going to be led in worship by Rob. We're going to have our thought for the week from Elaine. And we're going to be led in prayer by the Downing family.
We're gathered here, the time has come to praise the Father, Spirit, Son. I stand ready, free to respond. We join the everlasting song. We will worship you in spirit and truth. How we love to worship you. Let your name be praised again and again. Lord, we love to worship you. There at the cross you said it all. The poor made rich, the weak made strong. I said a welcome through all you've done. This is our story and our song. This is our story and our song, and we will worship you in spirit and truth. How we love to worship you. Let your name be praised again and again. Lord, we love to worship you. We're calling, the lion roaring. The time is coming and it has come. Your word is moving, your river flowing. We praise you, Father, and Spirit, Son. And we will worship you in spirit and truth. How we love to worship you. Let your name be praised again and again. Lord, we love to worship you. And Lord, we love to worship you. And Lord, we love to worship you.
We're in a storm. Storms cause havoc and destruction. They're unpredictable, they're frightening, and they're out of our control. When they've passed, things are different. Our Bible passage today is from the Old Testament book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 1 to 19. It's a story of how God called Jeremiah, a young man, to be a prophet. This is what God said to him. In verse 5, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Verse 8, I will be with you and protect you. Verse 12, I am watching and will certainly carry out my plans. I know you, I'm with you, I'm watching over you. God is with us in the storm. But what might he be doing? In 1987, Michael Fish, a BBC weather forecaster, famously predicted that there would be no storm. That night, hurricane-force winds swept across the south of England, causing absolute havoc and destruction. Kew Gardens is the home to around 14,000 trees from around the world. On the 16th of October, the storm arrived. Over 700 trees were lost in Kew Gardens that night. The wind simply used the branches as a canopy and uprooted them. The Turner's Oak was a huge tree, about 200 years old. It had been lifted out of the ground and the whole root plate had been dislodged. The tree had been slightly unwell before the storm, and this was a last opportunity to save it, really. So it was pushed back up and it was propped up into position. All the other trees that were destroyed that night were chopped up, and this process took 3 years to do. So 3 years later, they went back to have a look at the Turner's Oak and see how it was getting on. And to their utter surprise, it seemed to be recovered. It was healthy and it was thriving. This was why. If this was the tree, these are the branches, this is the trunk, this is the root plate. What had happened over the years is that people had walked around here and compacted the soil and made it hard and impenetrable, so water and oxygen couldn't get down into the roots. And that night, of course, it had gone like that, and it had been left in that position for 3 years, so water and oxygen had got in and fed it and fed it and fed it until it became healthy and started to flourish. This changed the way that we look after trees. We now have machines that allow that process to happen on a regular basis, so that water and oxygen are fed into the root systems of trees. This is a great story to apply to our lives. During the painful process of this storm, what if our roots are being lifted in order for God to heal and restore and rebuild us in a new way? God is never absent from the storms. He invites us to be still and to draw closer to him. He's good. And the words that he spoke to Jeremiah are for us as well. He knows us. He's with us. He watches over us. Being uprooted is painful, but the story isn't finished. Let's ask God to pour more of his life into our roots and see what happens. If you Google Turner Oak, Kew Gardens, you can watch this story on the BBC website. What might God be saying to you and to the church through this story?
We're living in very difficult and strange times, but I found it has provided an opportunity to spend more time in prayer. And one aspect of prayer that I've been developing and increasing my ability is to listen to what God is saying, and making prayer not so much the one-way conversation that we often do. And I've got 3 examples of how God has recently been speaking to me. The first one was when I was very poorly, probably with coronavirus, and I was in bed and had been in bed for a few days feeling really, really horrible, not wanting to pray at all. But I just called out to God, and with the why question. Why is this happening? Why is the world coping with this horrible thing, or not coping? And why am I so poorly and not getting better? And it was a few days later that I was listening to a Christian song that I'd not heard before, which was all about refinement and going through testing, and how it purifies and makes our relationship stronger with God after that time. And there was a verse in this song that that mentioned about the fact that God has intention and purpose and knows the outcome. And that was just really reassuring, and I found answering that why question that I'd put to God. And secondly, I've had some pictures while I've been praying for the virus, a couple of pictures really specifically. And one of them, when I saw this picture, I was actually asked God, prayed through the picture, and the picture actually moved and did something different, which was quite exciting to have that interaction. And then thirdly, which is a very simple thing, and sometimes God does speak through the everyday simple things. And I was out in the garden, and it was 2 examples that said the same thing. And one was a raspberry cane that I had that had almost snapped off, battered by the wind. And it was sort of bent over, and yet the leaves were still green, they weren't wilting, they were fine. There was still lots of raspberry flowers coming. and also with a tulip of mine that had a bashing with a football, and the stalk was almost completely severed off, and yet the tulip was still beautiful and no sign of wilting again. And I just felt God was saying that as long as we are attached to Him, connected to Him, even in the smallest of degrees, we will still be alive, spiritually alive, and able to bear fruit and be beautiful.
As we all know, God primarily speaks to us through His Word, the Bible. But God can also speak today. He can speak to us through dreams, through pictures, and through words. Joy is going to share with us a dream that she recently had. It's our job now to test whether we think this is from God and for us.
I want to share with you a dream that I had this week. I almost forgot about it in the busyness of the day, and then God reminded me later the significance of this dream. So here it is. I saw an arm outstretched, and on the wrist of the arm was an old watch with an old leather strap. Nothing fancy about it, but it was still working. As I looked, a hand came with a new watch and slipped it onto the wrist, and as the new watch took its place, the old watch faded away. The new watch was not ostentatious, but it had a solid, noble quality about it, with an expanding wristband. It was different to the old watch in every way, except that both watches tell the time. And as I thought about this, I felt God saying to me that the times are changing, and that we need to be a people who understand the times. And in our prayers, we need to be asking God for His will to happen through this pandemic. I also felt that because both watches told the time, there was a constancy. It's just that the setting was different, and that God will bring change and will bring His purposes about on this earth. Along with this, Andrew and I have been reading the Psalms, and there are many Psalms of lament. And I heard someone talk about lament 2 years ago, and thought that we don't really understand what lament is. Jesus lamented over Jerusalem, and we need to be lamenting now, because in true lament, I do believe that we begin to understand the depth of the heart of God, and that we can then be praying for God's purposes to come for this broken world that He so loves. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope this is of help to you in this journey that we're all travelling at the moment.
Hello everybody, I just thought I'd give you a quick update on how the Messer household are at the moment during this lockdown period. So Paul has been furloughed from work at the moment. I am working full-time from home, doing online learning for the nursery children. So been uploading lots of different activities, songs and rhymes, etc. for them, which has been quite a challenge. Learning a bit of patience, the old fruit of the spirit, with the technology side of things. But apart from that, it's been very rewarding, and I've really enjoyed having Google Meets, which is another word for Skype, speaking to the parents and children on a regular basis. Our children are well. Charlotte May, our daughter, and Nick, her husband, are well. Charlotte May unfortunately has lost her job at the moment, so she isn't working, but Nick is able to work from home. And George in Australia is really well, healthy, and we pray for protection for him every day, and he's in really good spirits and in a good, safe place. So that's really nice to hear. I just wanted to think of all those people who are going through such a difficult time at the moment with the coronavirus, who are losing loved ones, who are poorly themselves, or having to work as key workers to try and beat this coronavirus, and just lift them all up in our thoughts and prayers at the moment. And just to keep strong and stay hopeful for this to all pass, and to remain positive as we can. So just wanted to say that's what I'm thinking at the moment. I'm praying for all of you and hope to see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.
What do grandparents do in lockdown? Well, we got a call from our son and his wife, and they said, could you come and babysit? We're having a date night. This is what happened.
Hi, Mum and Dad. Thanks for babysitting. Bye!
What? Finn. Hi, Finn. Nice to see you.
Finn, would you like a story about some pigs? Poppy's farm? Yeah, and some hens?
Let's try some music. Here we go, Finn. And here's Shaky. Say hello to Shaky. Oh, Shaky's shaking. Oh! Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
If you see a grandmama, don't forget to scream. How about this, Finn? How do you like this? Finn! Finn!
And Finn, look at what big eyes Grandad's got.
Woo!
Look at this.
Oh, and mine's coming along now.
Okay.
Oh, who's this? Who's this? Hello. Hello, Finn. Hello, Flamingo. Hi. No social distancing here. Hiya. We've tried everything.
Your mummy.
Thanks very much for looking after him.
Bye.
Bye.
Glad you're back.
Most of you know that I've been challenging myself to do a worship song every day and to post it onto Facebook. It has been a challenge, getting the time to do it in the mornings before the school starts, the dog barks and all that sort of stuff, and life kicks off has been a bit of a challenge, but it's been great fun. It's really helped me to focus on spending time with God and reconnecting with Him every day. And it's been, I just thank you for the encouragement that you've given me, because actually when it gets hard, just seeing the lights and the sort of the views really encourages me to do it more and more. And it's amazing how far these songs have reached out. I know that some people have shared it with their network of theology students. I know that other people have shared it with their friends, and so people have been touched in Birmingham and in Cyprus, for instance. And my sister has been watching them every day in Glasgow, and she's a non-believer. And I've got a designer friend who isn't a churchgoer. And he's been watching it every day and really benefiting from it. I've had friends in Maidenhead, I've got friends in Vietnam, Thailand and Australia who have been viewing it every day, and that's been a real blessing to me and encouragement to me, that knowing that they've been watching it is having impact on their life. So the important thing about Facebook is to use the share button. If you like something, use the share button. And so that's my top tip for the day. And I just also encourage you, any little initiatives that you may have, any thoughts of doing something that you think, should I do it, should I not? Go for it, and if the Lord's hand is on it, it will bless many, many people.
Can I keep encouraging you, please, to be communicating one with another? Can I encourage you maybe to pick up the telephone, speak to somebody in the church family who you haven't spoken to, maybe someone you haven't spoken to throughout the whole of this lockdown period. Maybe send them an email or a text. Whatever. Do please keep communicating one with another.